It was good of you to come out, man, Alex said over the foam of his fifth beer. It's been too long. It has, hasn't it? Alex and I had been best friends in college. But these days, we barely saw each other, even though we lived in the same town. There was a long silence. Our eyes drifted to the game on the screen above the bar. Alex scratched at something beneath his ear. Look, I know I haven't done the best of keeping in touch. As Alex muttered, his itching intensified. I don't know what's wrong with me. Hey man, life gets in the way, I understand. I clapped him on the shoulder. No, I mean... As my friend leaned in close, I noticed his eyes. Bloodshot, animal wild, and marble round. How had I missed it before? I mean, Alex whispered, I don't know what's wrong with me. Some instinct made me want to pull back when Alex moved even closer and lifted his earlobe. He pointed to a little scar, about 2 inches long and closed with stitches. Have you ever seen anything like this before? Did you, have an operation or something? I asked, confused. It looks fine. No! Alex pounded the table with his fist, and his face screwed up into a mask of anger. Our drinks sloshed and spilled. I felt the irritated glances of other patrons on the back of my neck. No, that's just it. I woke up and felt this itch. Then I touched this place on my neck and found this cut. Like a surgical cut. And a pair of stitches. And now I ask you, how could something like that happen without me noticing? I bought some time with a long sip of beer. No idea, man. That's, pretty strange. That's not all, Alex hissed. I felt off ever since. I wake up sore, but I don't remember any workout. I try to remember what I did at a certain time of day, like, let's say between 6 and 9 o'clock, and I get nothing. Or even worse, I get these vague memories that seem like they were pieced together from other ones. They feel fake. They feel implanted. I frowned. My old pal was starting to sound like the guy I passed on my way to work, talking to pigeons in the park. I was afraid for him, but I was also afraid of him. Have you tried seeing a doctor? I ventured. Or maybe a psychologist? I can't. Alex sighed. I mean, I literally can't. I try to book an appointment, but when the time comes, I'm not there. I get voicemails from the office saying they'll bill me anyway. The worst part is that sometimes I do remember going, but I know the memory isn't real. That's why I called you. I needed to know that something from my past was actually real. I didn't know what to say to that, and I guess it showed. You don't believe me, do you? Well, I chose my words carefully. I believe you're going through something, and I believe you need help. Alex rolled his eyes and bunched his hands into fists. Okay, try this then. Walk around the bar. Act normal, nothing suspicious. But look at the space just behind people's ears. Then come back and try to tell me that there isn't something seriously wrong here. If I was going to get help for Alex, I needed to appease him for the moment. So I did what he asked. It's not like I actually expected to find anything. I made a big show of standing up and pretending to search the bar for a friend. And as I did, I started to notice. The 30-something woman with a bob haircut and hoop earrings. The Mexican bartender bobbing his head to the music while mixing drinks. The trio of suits laughing at something on an iPhone. These, and at least 20 more, had a mark just like Alex's behind an earlobe. So fine and well hidden that I'd never have noticed it if I wasn't already looking. I circled the bar in a daze, counting the scars I saw. What the hell could it mean? As I did, I felt suspicious eyes following me. Was it just me? Or were the ones with the stitches watching my every move? like they knew what I was looking for. "Right?" Alex asked. One look at my pale, shocked face must have told him everything he needed to know. He leaned back on his stool, looking tense but smugly satisfied. "Okay," I panted. It was hard to get control of myself. What could be happening here?" "You tell me," Alex grunted. "But I know this much. Once, just once, after the stitches first appeared, I think I came back into my senses when I wasn't supposed to. I was standing in this hotel lobby that I'd never seen before, with a bunch of people I didn't know. They must have realized that something was up, because all their faces snapped toward me. They had this, concerned look, but it was the same look. The same expression on every face. That's what freaked me out. And then..." Alex shut his eyes tight, like he was afraid of his own words. "It's okay." I squeezed his shoulder. "Go on." I felt something squirm. Inside my neck. Deep inside, on the other side of that horrible cut. I tried to grab it, but it was too deep. It kept wriggling away. I tried to fight it, but it was like it was taking me over again. And then the rest of them grabbed me, and everything went black. Alex started hyperventilating. Was it just the light, or could I see something writhing near his throat? Almost like his intense emotions were making it uncomfortable. There were a lot of whispers and worried looks toward our table, but only the stitched ones who I'd noticed before watched unblinkingly, like hawks. When I came back, I was sitting on the couch in my living room with the TV on, staring into space. You have no idea how much I grabbed and squeezed and prodded myself, trying to feel that thing again. But it was gone. Back deep inside me. Alex held out his palms and looked at them helplessly. So how can I really know? How can I know if I'm me or if I'm it? Tell me you understand, man. Tell me I haven't lost it. I thought you were crazy, I admitted. Then I indicated the 20-odd faces staring motionlessly at our table. I don't anymore. A huge shadow fell over our spilled drinks. The bouncer. "There gonna be a problem here?" he grunted. I fixated on the stitches behind his ear, and my blood ran cold. "No," I murmured weakly. "No problem." The bouncer snorted, hovered for a long moment, then lumbered off. By the time he did, though, something had changed. It was in Alex's posture, the way he held his beer, his smile, everything. Just a few seconds had passed, but I was convinced that I was no longer looking at the same man. Heh, he laughed, gesturing to the screen. "Did you see that goal?" Nothing in Alex's glazed-over eyes gave any indication of the conversation we'd just been having. "Yeah," I tried to laugh. "That's crazy. I'm gonna head to the bathroom real quick." I stood, and as I did, I noticed that about 3 other guys stood up with me. I sat back down. They did as well. "You okay, man?" Alex asked with a wide smile. The Alex who I remembered barely gave more than a half smirk, even at the best of times. "Yeah, man." I nodded. "Just tired. Maybe I'll just head home." I wondered how the hell I was going to get out of the place. If there were enough normal people around, they wouldn't dare to hurt me. Right? "So soon?" Alex grabbed my wrist. His smile had become a sneer, and his hand was cold. "Have another drink." The bartender plonked a murky cocktail down on the table beside me, and I felt sure that if I drank it, I'd never be myself again. With a clumsy swoop of my elbow, I knocked it off the high table. "Oh, sorry. Here, I'll order another one." I took advantage of the shattered glass to slip off the stool. I made for the bar, but at the last second, I swerved and bolted for the door. "Hey!" the bartender shouted over the music. "That guy hasn't paid!" The patrons, stitched and unstitched alike, turned to watch the spectacle of my clumsy flight. I ducked under the bouncer's arm, slammed my shoulder into the door, and I was free. Until a hand as big as a dinner plate closed on my shoulder. "Dine and Dashers get taken to the back room," he growled breathily into my ear. The giant bouncer twisted my arm until the pain screamed in my brain and burst like bright lights behind my shut-tight eyes. It was so intense that I hardly noticed being steered into an alley behind the bar. A rusty door squeaked open at the end of the alley. There was only darkness inside. 3 or 4 figures stood beside it, waiting for... what? To give me a little cut and 2 stitches? I think seeing what awaited me at the end of that alley gave me a burst of adrenaline that allowed me to overcome the pain, dislocate my arm, and run for the car. I think I must have somehow unlocked my car door and gotten inside without being caught, and then driven back to my apartment in a panic to check something. I think that's what happened, but I can't be sure. Because I just looked in the mirror and found 2 little stitches behind my ear. Hey everybody, hope you enjoyed today's first of 2 stories. I want to take a quick second to remind you to like, comment, and subscribe on this video. It really helps the channel grow and reach more new people. I was checking recently and saw that around half the people who watch the channel aren't yet subscribed, so I hope you'll take a quick second to hit that button if you haven't yet. Alright, now on to our next story. Ugh, did you see that? The disgust in my cousin's voice made me turn around, but I didn't notice anything unusual. Just a sewer grate clogged with dead leaves and an empty sidewalk. There was a rat, a big one. My cousin Laura shivered. I hate those things. Are there a lot of them in the city? Don't think so, I shrugged. But then again, it's been raining a lot lately. Maybe the rising water made them come up out of the sewers? I thought of slimy, flooded tunnels that would never see sunlight, and the blind, chittering creatures crawling through them, and shuddered. I didn't know they could even get that big. My cousin Laura had a special gift for finding something ugly in any given situation. Here we were, on a beautiful fall morning, strolling through the park beneath golden leaves, and she was talking about giant rats. The truth was, I wasn't even sure what Laura was doing here. We hadn't exactly been close when we were younger. She'd always whined and rolled her eyes whenever the adults made her take care of me, and I hadn't heard from her in over 10 years when she sent me a text asking to come visit me in the city. There was something ominous about how short and insistent the message was, but it felt wrong to turn her down. If she was trying to reconnect or make up for the past, I figured I should at least give her a chance. I should have known. Laura had shown up with a single packed-to-bursting suitcase, glancing over her shoulder like she expected someone to rob her at any minute. She was thinner than I remembered, and it looked like it had been a while since she'd slept. After an awkward hug, I invited her in for coffee. My cousin eagerly accepted, but we soon discovered that we had little to discuss over our steaming mugs. Less than half an hour had passed before I suggested we take a walk, mostly just to get away from the uncomfortable silence in my apartment. The change of environment seemed to do us both good. Laura walked more lightly, like a heavy burden had been lifted from her shoulders. At least, until she saw the rat. It was all downhill from there. Laura kept glancing nervously at every sewer grate we passed, as though she expected a pack of rodents to come swarming out and attack us. Sometimes she'd kick her feet in the fallen leaves, like she just felt tiny paws running over her shoelaces. Her behavior was so odd that people were beginning to stare. Through gritted teeth, I suggested we take a rest and admire the foliage. Laura eagerly accepted, but I noticed that she checked beneath the bench before she sat down beside me. I was about to ask her what was wrong when she stood up with a shriek, clutching her ankle in agony. "Laura? Are you okay? What happened?" The rat, it bit me. There was no sign of any injury on my cousin's leg, and there were certainly no mangy, rabid rats running down the sidewalk. Laura's eyes darted back and forth, as though she could see thousands of ravenous, beady eyes watching her from beneath the trees. I found myself wondering about the real motive for her visit. The dark circles under Laura's eyes, and her near-skeletal thinness, were telltale signs of a drug addiction. It was the only explanation I could think of that made sense. I wondered if the rest of the family knew. I wondered how long it would be before she hit me up for money. I chose my next words carefully. I guess you should probably see a doctor, huh? If I could get my cousin admitted to a hospital, I thought, maybe she'd get the help she needed. Not for her imaginary bite, but for her mind. You can't see them, can you? The look in Laura's eyes was a mixture of pity and contempt. Don't worry. You will. At first, I had been afraid. Now, I was angry. Babysitting my weird addict cousin through her bad trip was not what I had signed up for when I invited Laura to stay with me. I got to my feet, not sure whether I was going to yell at her, walk away, or threaten to call the police if she wouldn't get help. In the end, I did none of the above. To my surprise and embarrassment, Laura had started tearing at her clothing, still screaming about rats that no one else could see. "They're under my clothes," she howled. "They're under my fucking skin!" Angry red gashes appeared on my cousin's body where she'd clawed at herself. I spotted 2 park policemen jogging toward us, muttering into their radios, but they didn't get to Laura in time. Suddenly, my cousin stopped flailing and collapsed among the withered leaves. The autopsy revealed that her heart had stopped beating, a response consistent with shock, but there were no signs of any drug in her system. I called my cousin's parents from a grimy police station phone booth. I kept my explanation vague, partly because I couldn't find the words to express the nightmare I'd experienced, and partly because I secretly hoped that their response would reveal if they'd known what was wrong with her. Their stunned horror sounded genuine. According to them, the only indication they'd had that anything was amiss in their daughter's life was that she'd missed her weekly call home on Sunday. They hadn't even known that she was planning to visit me. If the answers weren't in Laura's personal life or her autopsy results, maybe they were in the massive suitcase that she dumped in my apartment. As numb and exhausted as I was, my heart pounded faster when I finally walked through my own front door. Laura's suitcase was right where she left it, casting a long, ominous shadow on my wall in the evening light. With trembling fingers, I tugged on the zipper. Laura had crammed it so full of stuff that it practically flew open, revealing a haphazard pile of junk. It looked like my cousin had just thrown in whatever came to hand. I reached out to dig through the mess, then froze. I could have sworn I'd seen movement in there. I waited for several agonizing seconds, but the pile in the suitcase stayed still. Not taking any chances, I grabbed my high school hockey stick and used it to poke through my cousin's stuff. If there was a nest of vermin in there, the last thing I wanted was to get bitten. Just like Laura had been. Suddenly, the suitcase felt like a trap. A trap full of squirming, hairy creatures with wormy tails and razor-sharp teeth. Was whatever I might find in there really worth the risk? The shadows on the wall across from me shifted nervously, like something had just skittered away. I realized that I needed to know what happened to Laura. Tangled between 2 bras and an old raincoat, I found it. My cousin's diary. Now that I was actually holding it in my hand, however, I hesitated. Opening it felt like disrespect to the dead, an invasion of Laura's privacy. And yet, if I only looked at the most recent parts, that wouldn't be so bad. Would it? Wouldn't my cousin have wanted someone to know what happened to her? Straining my eyes against the dying light, I began to read. For the most part, the purple notebook in my hand could have been the diary of anyone around my own age. Struggles with financial insecurity, self-doubt, feeling lost in life. Then, something caught my eye. October 24th. Rainy. It's almost Halloween. I want to do a horror movie marathon, but I'm too tired to focus. I slept so bad last night. Something kept waking me up. It sounded almost like scratching in the walls. I guess I'll have to pick up some mousetraps after work. October 25th. More rain. I forgot all about the mousetraps last night. I got drinks with Ryan instead. He's cute, but I can never tell what he's thinking. He invited me to a Halloween party, but with that stupid grin of his, who knows if it's a date or not. I give up. I'm sure about the noise now. There's definitely something moving in the walls. Guess I'll have to warn Ryan about it when he stays over. LOL. October 26th. Cold but sunny. It's past midnight. I'm sitting in my room with the lights on and the towel stuffed under the door. I am so freaked out right now. I went to the kitchen for a glass of water and I saw a giant rat creeping across the counter. The thing was bigger than a chihuahua. Then, when I turned around, there were 2 more pairs of rat eyes watching me from the bathroom. Hell no. I'm staying in here until morning. Then I'm calling pest control. October 27th. Well, that was a scam. The so-called exterminator says there's no evidence of rats anywhere in the apartment. He looked at me like I was crazy when I said I could hear them crawling around inside the walls. Whatever. I'll just have to figure something else out. Who knows? Maybe the whole town has a rat problem. There were a few more of them around the dumpster at work. Gross. October 28th. It was in my freaking bed. I wasn't even sure why I woke up until I felt its cold nose on my belly. Its tiny teeth. And it wasn't alone. They were on my shelves, inside my slippers when I ran out of the room. One jumped on my back from the sofa. I still have the scratch marks, but the doctor said he couldn't see them. I guess they weren't as deep as they felt. I can't spend another night in that apartment. I don't even know what I've got in the suitcase. They clawed and bit at me the whole time I was packing. Like they wanted to keep me there for a goddamn midnight snack. I told my landlord. Fat chance she'll do anything about it. Claire from work is letting me crash on her couch while this whole thing gets sorted out. What a mess. I turned the page. Laura had stopped using dates, and her entries were getting more haphazard. Her writing, so precise at first, had become slanted chicken scratch. I can't even remember the last time I got a full night's sleep. Every time I close my eyes, I can feel them pawing at my skin, nibbling at my toes. Claire kicked me out. Says that I keep screaming in the middle of the night. I tried my luck at a hotel, but the rats are there too. I can hear them in the walls. Must have nodded off on a park bench, because I had a dream. In it, I was staying with my younger cousin, downtown in some big city. We were talking, laughing, having a good time, until I started to feel sick. I ran to the bathroom and felt something big, slimy, and hairy sliding out of my throat. I coughed up a rat into the sink. When I lifted up my shirt and looked in the mirror, there were more of them squirming under the skin of my belly. The words on the next page were soiled by something. Maybe rainwater or tears. Got fired from work. After what happened with Claire, my ex-coworkers aren't answering my calls. Don't know anyone else here. Been spending the nights where I can. Always big open spaces so that I can see them coming. I know that no one else can see the rats, but does that even matter when I can feel their teeth gnawing on me? Can't tell my parents. They'll have me committed. Gotta find someplace else to go. Hadn't thought about my cousin for years till I had that dream. What was it, last night? 2 nights ago? I've lost track. I'm gonna use the Wi-Fi in the library to write to him. I hope he gets back to me. He's all I've got. The last entry was just 2 days ago. My cousin must have spent Halloween night crammed into an overnight bus with a crowd of strangers, trying desperately to reach me. Now I understand why she looked so pale and haunted. But I didn't understand how it had all started. As far as I could tell from Laura's diary, she'd been fine one day, and the next, she was surrounded by monstrous rats that only she could see. Fear of them had taken her career, her relationships, and finally, her life. No one else could see what was hunting Laura, but that didn't make the pain any less real for her. My hands clenched into fists. It didn't make sense. It wasn't fair. Things like this weren't supposed to just happen to people for no reason. There had to be some cause, some logic behind it. I was still wondering what that might have been when something scurried across my foot. Become a channel member today for early access, bonus videos, and special emojis only available to members. Check out the description below or click the join button for more info. If you'd like another way to help support the channel, please consider joining my Patreon page at patreon.com/JordanGroupHorror. As a patron, you'll get access to bonus videos and content. You'll be credited at the end of every video going forward, and if you decide to stay for 3 months, I'll name a character after you which will be featured in a Hollow's End story. Links to join the Patreon are in the description. Thanks everyone for listening. Please like, subscribe, and comment to help the channel continue to grow, and see you again next time at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope you have a great night.